One. Bennett Davison with the EuroHooplife podcast. We're interviewing Angelo. We're going to be talking about three different teams in France. He played for how many teams? Six different teams for over 8 seasons, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Well,
Yeah,
let's go with the team breakdowns. What are the team names?
yeah.
Where are they located? And get
I
into the
think that
details.
for most guys, I could talk about a lot of teams, but those three teams are more relevant because they are still um, really good and they are factors in the first division in France. So it'd be more interesting for guys to that are aiming to have a great professional career to
Okay.
know and understand more about those teams because eventually they could get to that.
Well, let's talk about one team. Let's go on and talk about 2 minutes, and then we'll go on to the second team, kind of going over the introduction, what the city's like, friendly wise, the middle portion of it, what the team is like, how they treat their players medically, and then the third, like you said, I don't think there's any financial problems with any French teams. So let's dig into the first team. What's the name and where
Yeah,
is it located?
so those three teams, when I played for them, they were in second division, and uh, the first one helped them go to Pro A to the first division. We won the national
What team is
championship
that?
together. That's Levallois. At the time, it was called Paris Levallois because you had the cities of Paris and Levallois that combined forces in order to have a more potent, prominent team with greater financial means. But eventually, politically, Paris and Levallois deferred and they separated again. But Levallois is still, it's actually the team where Boris Diaw,
Yep.
that is an NBA champion with the San Antonio Spurs and won the NBA's six-man award with the Phoenix Suns,
Yep.
French national team legend. He's the president for that team now.
Awesome.
So Levallois Metropolitans is the name of the team. It's located in the Paris area, literally like touching Paris. It's
Just a suburb on the outskirts of
yeah,
Paris.
suburbs. It's kind of like when you live, if you're in LA, it's Burbank, or if you're in
Yep.
San Francisco, it's Oakland. It's the same thing.
Yep.
So that team, very potent financially. They have about a 5 million and rising budget. Um, Great area. It's one of the richest area in Paris. Levallois is known for its uh, neighborhood where a lot of rich old people go retire or have houses, kind of thing. Um, Very accessible neighborhood. The Parisian system is the best in the world with the metro, the buses,
Okay.
the trams, all of that. It's very easy to go anywhere in Paris.
So you'd
Logistically,
recommend it as probably one of the top places to live for any kind of
yes,
team.
it's fantastic. I mean, you have Paris. It's Paris right at the tip of your fingers.
Yeah, you can visit it,
So
but you're not smack dab in the middle of the chaos.
exactly. You're in a very calm area, very secure, very clean, prosper area, and you have Paris that is accessible with metro, or you take a Uber in 10 minutes, you're anywhere in Paris. So that's very interesting.
Very convenient for them.
Great logistics. It's a team that has one of my favorite gyms. Um,
And do
and
they practice in the do they practice in the facilities that they play in?
Yes, the practicing and the playing is in the same gym. Um, and they played a European level. They played Eurocup this year, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
So it's a team that's very interesting. You have also, as foreigners, access to schools for your kids
Awesome.
that are like English schools. It's I think it's the best as a foreigner situation when you can play for a team that plays in a big city such as Asvel that is in Lyon or
Yep.
Strasbourg or Levallois in Paris. These are like for me the best situations as pros because when you're a family man or even when you're single and trying to just find balance between being a professional athlete but still discover the country,
Having a
have a
social
culture.
life and making your own time because you're
Yes,
there for 9, 10 months. You can't just sit in your apartment, go to practice, sit in your apartment, being alone. You got to go out and become
yeah,
familiar with the culture.
one of my favorite spot in Paris is called Breakfast in America. So
There you
that was a
go.
little taste of my 6 years in the U.S. So you have everything you can think and dream of when you're in this area. So that's why I
Awesome.
wanted to talk about this team because they have good management, they have a good coach. Uh, it's Of course, if you can have access to that, it's kind of like playing for a team in Barcelona or Madrid or
And so, how were the
Moscow.
medical? Like, how was all of France and all the different teams you played for? How was the medical stuff? Because I know sometimes you can go there, and I actually had a Croatian team manager, and I ended up going to a chiropractor. I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I had like two bulging discs and
Yeah.
early onsets of arthritis in the lower back. And the doctor says, "What's going on? Like, what is this team doing?" He said, "Well, my team manager is texting the bookies while rubbing my back with ointment, and he's sitting there saying Bennett Davison won't play tonight, texting the bookies, and he's not even giving me therapy." So I go to this chiropractor. He's like, what jackass is giving you therapy? He's like, "You have two bulging discs. You need to see me for the next 10 days, every single day, so that I can get you back on the floor playing." I was like, "I've been dealing with this for 3 weeks, and this is the first time I've actually had a doctor." So like I was saying, how was the medical coverage? Because in Croatia, it was two thumbs down.
Full coverage. The great thing, once again, in France, we have one of the countries with the best social security system, the best healthcare system, and once you're working in France, you're getting the same protection and treatment as any other citizen that
Now, did
live
they
in the
also
country.
have awesome? So it sounds like finances, medically. Let me ask you this: in Italy, they had a retirement system. Like once you put into it, they take 4% of your salary. They put it into a retirement. You can't retrieve that until you've committed to your last season of playing that country. Do they have a structure like that also for French players?
Well, you have some teams that have the interest plans in the contracts and stuff like that. They can propose it to you, but it's not something that is very common at the end of the day, because I think it's more so on an individual base and the economic structure that they want to have within their budgeting and all. I honestly don't recommend any kind of plans like that, because that means your money is locked, and if you want to have access to it, it may not be accessible for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
I think as a foreigner, because you're not French or you're not from the country, just sign a normal deal, get your money, you're in, you're out, it's secure, it's safe, you can build, invest the way you want, and you're not uh, limited in what you can do with the
Awesome.
money that you've earned on the floor.
Well,
The medical staffs all around France are pretty solid. I think that I've been taken care of medically the best in comparison to what I could have seen in the Philippines or in Greece, for example. If you need an MRI done, if you need X-ray, if you need any kind of treatment, you have access to that. And all the professional
yep.
teams in France, Pro A and Pro B, first and second division, will give you access to full medical coverage and full medical access for any kind of testing that you may
And even
require.
for wives, my ex-wife got pregnant 2 or 3 times over in Europe, and that the medical coverage was
Of
outstanding.
course.
And that was in Slovenia, that was in Naples, Italy,
Yes.
Milan, things of that nature. So even if it's
Yes.
just the players, because mostly players get their stuff taken care of because obviously they sign a contract, but you're also worried about your wife and kids if there's some food poisoning or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
I always felt that they took care over in Europe. They took care of the spouses also fairly well.
Yeah.
So
So the
Angelo,
second thing that I will talk
no,
about.
Angelo, let's go. Let's stop this one just because
Okay.
it's a good little section of this interview, and we'll blend the
Sure.
next two of them together. I'll put
All
your
right.
name in there, and we'll have a great way because you're a wealth of information on these on playing professional basketball
Yeah, it's
overseas.
tough. It's tough to stay on the small.
It is. Thank you, Angelo.